Week 5 is all but over, and man, is Derrick Henry special. Well, let's get into Week 5 waivers, shifting our focus to next week. A lot of players on the show today. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing anyone. Let's kick it off here with a player that I've had on every single one of these videos dating back to before the season. Wandale Robinson, a guy that is averaging 6.5 receptions, 50 yards a game. That alone, there is 11.5 to 12 fantasy points, depending on your format. But here's the kicker. 9.5 targets a game is astonishing. That's the elite of the elite numbers. Wandale Robinson, it's a bad offense. I get it. Bad quarterback. I get it. But he has 2 games so far with 12 plus targets. It's just too much volume to pass up on. It's an offense that's going to be down a lot throughout the remainder of the season, and Wandale is going to be getting a lot of attention because Malik Neighbors is only going to get more and more attention throughout the year. So someone's going to have to step up, and I think it's Wandale Robinson. He needs to be on your roster at this point in time. Allen Lazard, a lot of the same situation here. Garrett Wilson gets a lot of attention, but I like him because of his matchup this upcoming week. So if you need a grab and start this upcoming week, Lazard might be a guy for you. 36%, of course, in Yahoo leagues, 40 in ESPN. But on the year, he's averaging 4 receptions, 50 yards on 6 targets. The chemistry is there with Aaron Rodgers. And last week, for example, he had 3 receptions in a span of 4 plays. So this is a guy that they will target and target heavily when they need a guy to move the chains. And Garrett Wilson, of course, is getting a lot of attention. They play Minnesota next week in a must-win game seemingly for both teams. Well, really more so the Jets than the Minnesota Vikings. So I like Lazard to get a lot of attention, of course, as Garrett Wilson will be doubled and triple-teamed. Tutu Atwell. Look, Cooper Kupp is down. Puka Nacua is down. Are we really going to rely on Colby Parkinson to carry the load? Demarcus Robinson. Tutu Atwell is an explosive slot playmaker in this offense, and the last 2 weeks, he's kind of showed it. 4 receptions, 85 yards a game, 12 fantasy points, which is good starter numbers. And again, the opportunity is there with Matt Stafford as his quarterback. This team has now dug themselves in a big hole that seems insurmountable, but they need to move the football, and Tutu Atwell is going to be a guy to do that for them. Justin Fields on the thumbnail. You knew he was going to be in today's video, but he is, to me, actually the #1 quarterback pickup on the week. Over the last 2 weeks, he has 610 total yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 3 rushing touchdowns. He's doing it all, right? 55 total fantasy points over the last 2 weeks. And over a guy like Sam Darnold, because of the fact that he gives you that rushing upside. And of course, a rushing touchdown is a lot more than a passing touchdown in most leagues. I like Justin Fields, right, because of the upside that he gives you. And I believe with the job that he's done in the first month of the season, he is going to be their guy going forward. So unless they go on a big losing streak, Justin Fields might be able to start for you for the next couple of weeks. But speaking of Sam Darnold, of course, he has to be on this. He's a top 3 quarterback so far, averaging 20 fantasy points a game. If you asked me before the season, or if you told me before the year that this was the reality, of course, I would say you're delusional. But here we are. He's giving you 220 yards a week with 3 touchdowns a week. So Sam Darnold is killing it. The worst football he played was in the 4th quarter last week, but up until that point, it was really perfection from a guy like Sam Darnold. It's a great offense. They're going to put up a lot of points, so it gives us a lot of opportunity for fantasy. So Sam Darnold, of course, if Justin Fields is not your speed, this is a guy that you want to grab on your roster. Transitioning to the running back position, Bucky Irving is a guy that needs to be on your roster. Last 2 weeks, he's getting the volume, 12 touches a week, and the head coach has backed him. Todd Bowles has backed him and said he's going to get more and more work. He's earned it, and he's going to get that throughout the remainder of the season. His workload is increasing, in a great offense that's going to score a lot of points, giving us plenty of opportunity to get more fantasy production out of Bucky Irving. So again, unlikely he's on your waivers, but someone that needs to be on your radar. Same can be said here about Braelon Allen, right? It's a true 50-50 split. He gets all the groundwork, especially in the red zone, over a guy like Breece Hall. In the last 2 weeks, the touches are somewhat there, not as much as Bucky Irving, but 7 touches a game, 50 yards a game. He doesn't give you the upside receiving-wise like a guy like Bucky Irving, but still, this is a guy that if you grab and stash, he has a great playoff schedule. So again, a lot of favorable matchups, a lot of top 10 matchups, at least so far, in that playoff stretch. So if anything happens to Breece Hall, you got an automatic starter sitting on your bench for the long run of the season. Tank Bigsby is another guy that is just a great handcuff throughout the stretch of the season. only owned in about 10% of both of the major leagues, but ETN is banged up at the moment, and this is an offense that is struggling. So they might want to try and change it up, try some new things, get different guys some touches. And with ETN being banged up, they might be a little bit cautious with his workload for the next couple of weeks. So Tank Bigsby, very explosive, a couple explosive plays last week, and 90 total yards. We want to see a little bit more receiving work, but just like a guy like Braelon Allen, he's going to get all of the red zone work. And if anything happens to the starter, this could be a guy we can start on a weekly basis. So at the bare minimum, he is an explosive handcuff. At the tight end position, Tyler Conklin. I like him because of Lazard for their matchup next week. They play Minnesota. It's a top 10 matchup for the tight end position, and the volume is there. Over the last 2 weeks, 7 targets a game for a guy like Tyler Conklin. Rodgers loves his tight ends. And again, with all the attention that Garrett Wilson gets on a weekly basis, that seemingly is when these other options need to step up. And that's the reason why the Jets are 2-2 at the moment, because they haven't always stepped up. But the opportunity is there, and that's why we like a guy like Tyler Conklin this upcoming week. Now, another guy we could like is a guy like Tucker Kraft, excuse me. Tucker Kraft is a guy that plays for Green Bay, of course, he had his best game last week, and with Jordan Love now back in the mix, could be an interesting play down the line. At the kicker position, we got to show them some love too. Will Reichard, of course, a rookie kicker for the Minnesota Vikings. He is barely owned in any of your leagues, so I guarantee you he's there. But 9 fantasy points a game, great production. He's a top 10 kicker on the year. There's other kickers as well, right? But again, deep sleeper here for Will Reichard, but tons of opportunity and a great offense to get us fantasy production. Now, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, of course, the 2 quarterback pickups on the week. Braelon Allen, Wandale Robinson, Allen Lazard to round out the top 5. Tutu Atwell, Josh Downs, Xavier Legette, I didn't touch on here. I didn't touch on Josh Downs either, but 2 guys that I would go after this weekend. Josh Downs, it depends. If Flacco's his quarterback, he needs to be on your roster. And if AR is his quarterback, we can continue to pass on him. Conklin and Reichard, of course, we talked about. And that's going to do it here. So if you enjoyed, of course, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.